If you could smell me right now, you would know how awesome I smell.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Belgian Jasper. If you are new here, click subscribe right now. Exciter are Canadian metal icons, and in the last few years they've been working on an exciting comeback. And to learn more, I'm gonna talk to guitar player DK.
So I saw your tweet. So you're in the shower, firing up a joint. So how high are you right now?
I don't even call it high anymore. Just normal, just cruising. If you could smell me right now, you would know how awesome I smell.
That's I guess that just sets the tone for this interview. That's fantastic. All right, so DeKay, you joined Exciter some time ago, and the band was getting quite a bit of momentum. I know there was a lot planned for the summer, and then obviously COVID hit. Everything had to be postponed. That's a bummer. I assume you got some frustrations around that. How is the band going through all of this?
The initial frustration really set in when the tour dates it started coming up to those times when we should be on tour. It's like I was no longer sitting there wondering if the tours were going to happen. I was sitting there at home realizing, oh, I'm supposed to be playing for 75,000 people right now overseas. So it was that there was a certain element of frustration that set in then. But, you know, honestly, man, I'm trying not to be too frustrated about it, because any professional working musician is in the exact same boat as me right now. No one's playing. It's not like they're all at a party that I didn't get invited to. No one's playing. So I'm trying my hardest just to stay with that positive mindset, keep busy, and, you know, I'm in touch with the dudes almost daily. We're working on little things to keep us busy, whether it be writing or merchandising or just, you know, planning for world domination next year. We're just trying to remain in a totally positive mindset. Hey, man, we're all going through it together. If there's one thing that everybody in the world has in common right now, it's that.
You're obviously not an original guitar player of Exciter. That would be impossible.
Scientifically, it doesn't make sense.
Do I understand correctly, Dan, that when Exciter was looking for, you know, a new player, that it was actually you reaching out to them saying like, hey, if you're looking, I am ready?
Alan Johnson, the bass player, posted on Facebook that John had exited the band again and they were going to continue without him and they were looking for someone. And I just messaged Al and I said that I wanted the gig, and he thought I was kidding. He wrote back, "Are you serious?" And I wrote back, "Yes, I'm 100,000,000,000% serious." And next thing you know, I was on a phone call with Dan Beeler, sorting out the details for when I'd be flying in for my first rehearsal. It was literally that fast.
That must have been a bit of a fanboy moment at that time, as well as a professional musician.
I still remember where I was when I was having the phone call with Dan. I got the call from Dan and I was out for a walk, and I just remember I must have looked like such an idiot. I was like, there was like such a dance in my step. I'm on the phone with Dan, I'm sorting out the details. The conversation started as, well, maybe you should come for an audition, to by the end of the convo it was like, all right, well, we've got these shows booked and we need you to come play. It was really crazy how it just happened over the course of a 2-hour phone call with Dan, basically, that we sealed the deal on it. I mean, all I had to do was show up and not totally fuck up the songs, and I basically had the gig, is what they told me.
Heavy Metal Mania!
Yeah, total fanboy moment. Obviously, been listening to that band my whole life. I've known Dan for a good portion of my life. I grew up in Ottawa, in the same neighborhood. Dude, every night on tour with them, just looking back and seeing Dan and looking to my side and seeing Al and the big Exciter backdrop, it just like, it totally feels surreal. I mean, it'll never get old. It's like, it still feels weird to do an interview as the guitar player of Exciter, to be completely candid with you, man. It still feels very weird, because I interviewed Exciter with Banger. I've sat with the original 3 members and interviewed them as a fanboy, and now I'm on the other end of that, getting interviewed as a member of Exciter. It's a very surreal feeling, dude.
And let's talk about Alan for a second. A lot of the Exciter sound is really powered by a thundering bass and creates quite a tight rhythm section that, you know, being just a one guitar player in the band, if you have a different bass player there's a lot of weight on the shoulders of that guitar player to carry songs and what have you. But with a guy like Alan besides you, that must give you a lot of, freedom to just shred and be a little bit creative as well. How is that playing with somebody like that?
It's really interesting. The dynamics of the band, as you say, with the three-piece, is that everybody needs to bring something a little bit over the top to make the band sound like a complete unit. So you've got Al, who not only does he bring the absolute thunderous bottom end, playing the 5-string bass, really, really, really in tight with Dan, Al's backup vocals. People don't realize how important Al's background vocals are to the Exciter sound. All those violence and force chants and long live the loud chants, like that's Alan Johnson, man. That is Al's voice. He has an abnormally powerful and low background vocal. Like, it's funny. I pull back when I do the background vocals. My background sound like shit compared to Al's. Like, Al is the background vocal voice of Dan. It's Dan and Al, like, that is the vocal unit. I'm just there going, violence and force, Same with Dan, man. It's not just the fact that he's a drummer singer. It's how he plays the drums and how he sings. And prior to me, it's not just John Ricci, the guitar player. It's John's tone and the way that John's unique style of playing. When you're in a three-piece, the dynamic of the way everyone presents their instrument is so vital. Because, I mean, you can't just have three average Joes playing in a band together and call it a three-piece. It would sound empty. It would sound like lacking in spirit and soul. And I knew that coming into the Exciter game. I knew that was a vital part of their sound. So I do my best to bring everything that John brought to the table and also to put my own little flair on it as well.
More and more young people are discovering these bands and coming to these shows. What's it like playing these iconic songs that you grew up with for an audience that is brand new?
It's interesting with the Exciter crowd because there's really two main demographics. You've got an older crowd that are like, I saw Exciter with Motorhead and Merciful Fate. There's that demographic at every show. And then the other demographic, as you say, are people my age and fucking younger than me who are like, man, Exciter is everything to me. And I'm like, all right, I'm young, but like, you guys are really young. It's wild. Like how new people are discovering the band today really just speaks to how timeless those original records are, man. It's really fun to see young people in the audience. And I see it with another one of my favorite bands too. I see it with KISS all the time. You go to a KISS show and it's the OGs, their kids, and now their kids going to see the band. I love that shit, man. I love a band that's timeless like that.
It's been a while for the fans to hear any new music. So you were already mentioning that during the forced break of COVID, the band is working on a number of things, including writing new material. Should the fans get their hopes up of hearing some new music soon, or what's in the cards?
I never like to hypothesize on what would have been, but had this year gone differently, you probably would have had a record coming out now. But we're sitting in a time where you drop a record, and not only is it hard to get to a record store to pick it up, it's physically impossible to go see the band and pick it up. Right now, we're in a bit of a holding pattern with the new tunes. I can't really say more than the team we're working with is American-based. We can't go to the U.S. to record an album right now. We're demoing in Canada. Pre-production's been underway for almost a year. The songs are there. They're getting tweaked all the time. Dan and Al are constantly rewriting, retweaking this chorus there, that there. They're working tirelessly on that and keeping me updated with demos. But the bottom line is to go to the U.S. to record an album right now is not really something that's possible. I really wish I had a concrete answer for you, but just the way that I don't know when the next show I'll play, I don't know when I'll be releasing my next album.
You're a big fan of the 80s. As more a kid of the late 90s and the early 2000s, what draws you to that decade?
It's the coolest fucking era. You kidding me? It's like a no-brainer. The music, the pop culture, the TV shows, the movies, the color palettes of everything. Let's break it down to real simple visual art here. The color palettes were better. Everything looked so fucking cool. That's why if you look at Diemonds and you look at any other project I've been involved with, it's always like, even the way I brand my stream, everything's very 80s. It's all about borrowing from from 80s wrestling culture to 80s hair metal to 80s television sitcoms. I love everything about it. And it's crazy because, as you say, I mean, I didn't grow up in that era. And furthermore, I don't feel a connection really at all to this 2000s throwback that is becoming more and more popular in today's society. You have people wearing clothes that I wore in high school, and it's really coming back. And I look at that and I almost think like, ooh, fuck, as if we ever dressed like that. Like that's fucking embarrassing. Versus I look at the 80s stuff and I'm like, that's me. That's always been me. That's what I've been into my whole life. I mean, I had a great influence from my parents, both of them. My mom with her musical taste and the shit that she was into, and my dad with the heavy metal and all the 80s horror movies and stuff. That's where that comes from. So I was lucky that it was around me my whole life, but I find it weird, man. Even as a kid of the 90s, like I'm not really into 90s and 2000s throwback culture at all right now. And I know it's popular and I know it's hot, but man, nothing does it for me the way the 80s does, dude.
Everybody who was a teenager once looks back at those years, no matter what decade that was, and go like, what was I wearing? But you do mention the band Diemonds. That's how I got to know you and your playing. You know, I spoke to singer of Diemonds, Priya, a little while ago, and basically she made the point of saying Diemonds is not the most active thing right now, but if people call us to play, we'll play, but it just requires a little bit more planning than it used to do. Are you still actively involved with Diemonds? What's the story there for you?
Yeah, more than ever, actually. I'm the mastermind behind these one-off shows, to be honest. I'm the one handling all the back end on booking the shows and dealing with all the arrangements related to that. And yeah, Priya's right. We are not active, have not been active in years. But it's funny you mentioned Diemonds. I still remember the show you came to in London, the Steel Panther show. And I remember the photo we got that night. Anyone who's been in a band knows what I mean when I say it's very exhausting physically and mentally. It's like being in a relationship with 5 other people. Personal egos and interrelationships within the band and cliques within the band. And dude, at a certain point, like, your body just kind of starts to give you these signs that maybe sleeping on floors and couches or 7 people in one hotel room 7 nights a week isn't perhaps the healthiest of lifestyles, eating pizza and drinking beer for breakfast. I mean, we loved it and we did it hard for a long time. Me and Priya, actually, we celebrated 5 years of Never Wanna Die. I had her on my stream and we pointed out, like, a lot of people refer to Never Wanna Die as the golden era of the band with the huge release and all these exciting things, a Juno nomination, trips around the world.
Yep.
But when you really break it down, like, we did less than 30 shows in support of Never Wanna Die. Like, bottom line, we did 1 European tour, quick Canadian run, very limited US dates. It was like we toured on the Bad Pack for fucking 7 years or something. Like, we just kept hammering it down people's throats. So by the time that this amazing album we worked on for years, Never Wanna Die, came out, we were all a little burnt out. We had some lineup changes. Yeah. We were all a little burnt out. And, you know, understandably so, there was no hard feelings at all with kind of slowing things down with that band because we were all feeling it. It's been about 3 years with 1 to 2 shows a year. Do I wish we could do more? Absolutely. Is there a lot more logistics involved? Absolutely. So when we organized the Monsters of Rock cruise last year, this is how I planned it. I brought Priya home for 1 rehearsal. So I got together with the dudes, and then this time we decided I was going to be the sole guitar player. So I worked really hard with Kyle and Tyrone, bass and drums respectively, to really modify the songs to sound as a 3-piece. I'd learned a lot about playing in a 3-piece in the year prior. We modified the tunes to sound really, really, really strong as a 3-piece musical unit so that when Priya showed up for that one and only rehearsal, dude, 1 rehearsal we did for that show, she showed up. It was the best we've sounded since I played in the band. It was unreal. And there's videos from Monsters of Rock this year that can prove that. I'm not just blowing smoke up my own ass. It was unbelievable vocal performance, unbelievable bass and drum. Everything sounded incredible. Listen, if someone calls us and the opportunity is there and it's feasible, we absolutely love getting together. We're all best friends. We love doing it. But, dude, it was crazy to fly someone in from LA to have one rehearsal, to fly out to Miami to do a cruise. It's actually the last gig I played before lockdown was the 2 gigs we did on that boat. That was in February. Imagine that. I was on a cruise ship in February. COVID was already happening in other places in the world, and here we are on this boat watching the news, wondering, I wonder if this will get serious.
So what you're saying is that you helped spread coronavirus into Canada. That's what I'm taking here.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Definitely 100% not.
But now with Exciter, you're definitely, closer to what are your roots. You started in a thrash band called Aggressor. With 2 hands in shackles, I dig my grave. Is thrash the first love and biggest love?
Heavy metal in general and hard rock was the original love. And then, hearing Fistful of Metal and Kill 'Em All and Violence and Force and, Bonded by Blood. Those are the records that absolutely changed my life. I gravitate towards thrash. I love the crossover stuff. I love the speed and rawness of punk with more of the intricate guitar riffs and intricate drumming of metal. So for me, thrash was like the perfect storm of all my favorite things.
A band that you haven't mentioned, but I know that you're a big fan of, Megadeth.
I would say 90% of Megadeth fans would agree that Rust in Peace is their best record. And for me, that was another one that could go in that conversation before with records that changed my life. It's like, I thought, Kill 'Em All, Ride the... Rust in fucking Peace. Oh, forget Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning. This is thinking man's thrash. This is intricate riffing. This is technical solos. Dude, it's like the first time any kid hears Tornado with Souls, his life is instantly changed, right? They opened the door. They made thrash progressive, and they made thrash complex and difficult, and I was all about what they did, man.
It's funny because I've got an ongoing discussion, which I think now has lasted for at least 3 years, with some of my friends here. They have the exact same sentiment that you have, and I agree that Rust in Peace is a phenomenal album. But I keep telling them that I think if you look at the relevance for the history of thrash, my pick goes to Peace Cells, and I don't think we will ever agree on in that discussion. But
Peace Cells, it's evil as fuck, man. That's an evil as fuck record, and you're right. For the time, it's more influential, I suppose, because there were less things that sounded like that. Versus by the time Rust in Peace arrives, prog and metal had already happened as a fusion. Like, I really equate Rust in Peace as being a very progressive thrash record, man. Some of that riffing is unbelievably complex.
Definitely, yeah.
Unbelievably complex, and like really unique ideas that you would certainly not like. If Kill 'Em All is thrash, Rust in Peace cannot also be called thrash. You know what I mean? There's obviously
for sure,
major differences between those two sounds.
So you mentioned before, and you're wearing a Banger shirt because you work for Banger TV and do a lot of shows. People have seen you interview a lot of famous artists. How did you get involved with the whole Banger TV gig, and what have been some of the key standout memories for you?
I got called to guest on a show they do called Lock Horns. They called me in as the thrash specialist, which, I mean, I was super excited about. Not only to work on something with Sam Dunn, but to just blab about thrash metal for an hour. That's like that is my fucking game, man. That is my stuff. It got a shitload of views. All the comments were like, who the fuck is this dude? Why isn't he on the team? And next thing you know, I got a call from the producer saying, hey, we want to hire you to be our full-time Lockhorn's co-host and interviewer for the artist, So I was absolutely thrilled. I was the original hire for Banger TV for like when they started having outside people. I was the first guy, and I was fucking absolutely honored, man. And getting to know Sam Dunn has been fucking 13-year-old me is like pissing his pants with excitement right now. To think that, a movie I watched 8 million times, Metal Headbanger's Journey. Holy shit, did I see that movie a lot of times. The fact that I was now working for that guy, not only working for him, but became buds. It's still very, very cool and mind-blowing to think that all these years later I'm still there and legitimately working not only with one of my own personal heroes, but like a hero to the metal community at large. But there's nothing cooler than getting a letter from a fan or either a band being like, hey, I had never heard of X and you introduced me to X and now I'm a huge fan of X. Or it's on the opposite end, you get a band like, holy shit, man, we sold 40 copies of our album last night. We hadn't sold 40 total. We're an underground, unsigned band, and on Bandcamp, we sold 40 copies of our album because you plugged us in one of your videos. Like, thank you.
Exactly.
I would love to do a full band live stream though. That would be really exciting. But until then, no, we just do the. I just have my Twitch stream where I play guitar for 5 hours at a time. We hang, we watch videos, I play riffs, I break down riffs, I learn new shit, I shred shit. And it's cool. I get the guys from Exciter popping in. So Alan popped in the other night and he was like, "Hey, want to do a video chat?" So I boomed up a fucking video chat, and all of a sudden my live stream went from me playing guitar to now we're hanging out with Alan Johnson talking about Motorhead in the 80s.
I will obviously put the link to your live stream in the description. But DeKay, thank you so much for your time today. It seems like we've got lots of exciting stuff next. Exciting. A lot of exciting Exciter stuff. That must happen all the time with the band.
Yeah.
But we've got lots of cool stuff to look forward to next year, it sounds like. And yeah, hopefully we get to see you guys soon on live shows. I know that you are planned to go play Grass Pop again, so can't wait to buy you a beer over there.
Can't wait to see you in Belgium, man. That's going to be awesome.
All that's left is for us to wait for the new Exciter album to come out.
It's coming, baby. It's coming. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me. An absolute pleasure. And we'll catch up real soon. I'll see you on stream.
Absolutely.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.